Good evening. My name is Dr. Susan Feneck. I am the CEO and founder of Juvenile Justice Impact. And tonight we have with us Julia Reynolds, calling in from out of state. She's calling in from Idaho. Thank you so much. And she's going to be talking to us about what it means to be an adult survivor of severe child abuse. She's also #1 rated DJ in Twin Falls, Idaho at the Rouge. She's done so many incredible things, but her story of how she heals and helps is quite astonishing. Julia, thank you so much for being with us tonight.
Oh my gosh, Susan, thank you so much for having me on this podcast. I feel so blessed and I'm very happy to be here.
Thank you. So tell us about yourself. How's Idaho? How's the weather over there?
Oh my gosh, the weather in Idaho today.
I mean, only because I know my friends and family back in New York are shoveling their way out of snow, and
it's so ridiculous. So the weather in Idaho is known for its craziness. You can literally have all 4 seasons in one day, and that's kind of happening right now. We are transitioning from winter directly to summer, and there is no in between. And that's pretty typical for this area of South Central Idaho. So not a shocker.
That's kind of how it was here. It's like last week it was freezing, and then this week it's like 70. But it's still a big change, right? So anyway,
it's one of those things where you have to be just ready to be grateful the instant it's good, because it can go away at any time.
Right. So thank you so much. It's a pleasure meeting you. We just had a good half hour of speaking offline, and we're grateful and thankful to have you here tonight. And so tell us a little bit about what give us a little bit of insight as to what it means to be a survivor, and what was it that you're a survivor of?
Oh, excellent. Thank you so much for opening that up for me. So I'm going to give, because I assume we have about an hour to fill. So I am going to just start at the beginning, like anyone else. That way I believe, those who are listening can identify with what's going on, or, find things that they can find useful from my story. So I was born January 22nd, 1988 in Portland, Oregon, in the middle of a rainstorm at night on a Friday night, and now I am a club DJ. Big shocker. So I was definitely born into a lot of energy. Throughout my life, there were certain things that I dealt with that as I got older. At first, when you're a child, you think that what you grow up with is relatively normal, and then as you age and you mature, you kind of realize, oh, this isn't so normal. Oh, this really isn't okay. Oh, I'm feeling kind of jealous. I'm feeling sad. I'm feeling envious of the people around me because they have a relationship with their parents that I necessarily don't. So, where should I start? So I started off as a child in Portland, Oregon. And my family, even at a young age, there was some abnormal behavior specifically coming from my mother. So over the course of my life, I have moved houses over 50 times. Oh, and unfortunately, I was subjected to every form of abuse available, and that's not to be comparative to any other person, because there are so many people out there and so many youths and so many adults that have endured so much more, or their own unique brand of abuse, which I validate and I love every single human I ever come in contact with about it. I was subjected to quite a large amount of physical abuse, physical neglect, some sexual abuse, and definitely verbal and mental abuse. And in retrospective, to give people kind of an idea of what my childhood was like, I had a father who, by the time I was of a coherent age, we're talking 4 years old, he was an over-the-road truck driver most of the time. So my father was relatively absent most of the time. And of course, back in the day, in the 90s and whatnot, it was culturally acceptable to be the man on the road and the one earning the bacon, and he wasn't really there. And when he was there, he was not really there emotionally. And I think for people who grew up during, of course, the 90s and into the 2000s and the 80s and way, way before that, emotionally not present fathers seems relatively common. So I was left with my mother the majority of the time as a child. Unfortunately, in hindsight, being left alone with my mother and no siblings, I was an only child, I was subjected to some things that statistically probably should not have happened. Both my parents were 34 years old when they had me. They were financially stable. They both had some form of college education and had their house paid for and whatnot. So to the outside world, my family essentially looked like the perfect American family. However, my reality within my household and within my mind was very, very different, unfortunately, because my mother suffered from what I believe, she's passed on now.
I'm sorry to hear that.
What I believe to be an extended case of postpartum depression.
I wanted to say, excuse me, I just want to say I'm very sorry to hear that.
Oh, well, thank you. Thank you so much, Susan. And to me anymore, feel free to ask me any questions or any clarifying questions, because at this point, to me, it's just a story. I'm able now to, draw it out of my mind and just kind of digest it. And I know for a fact, if it can happen to me, it can happen to, any amounts of people. So feel free to ask any form of intrusive question. I'm totally comfortable and healed with this portion of my life and continue to heal daily. I'm just lucky that, to be honest, I got lucky DNA-wise, strength-wise, that I made it. I'm one of those, I call it, quote-unquote, one of those kids. Like, I shouldn't statistically have made it. I made it. I'm lucky. I'm blessed. And it's okay. It's okay now. And I'm just here to kind of pass forward the strength and the acceptance of, any forms of neurodivergency or anything that people had to do in survivalhood, and to just kind of let them know that, what, as long as you are living and breathing on this earth, you can make it okay. And you can make it okay with the things you do to other people out of anger, and you can also make it okay within yourself.
And with you said you're a survivor. So, with the people or person, I'm not sure who it is, and it's okay, you don't need to disclose who it is, but with whoever it was that was making you endure this level of abuse, did they have any accountability, and have you forgiven them?
Oh, I have absolutely forgiven any and everyone involved. However, since those people, something that makes my story unique is that none of these people said sorry.
People?
Normally I've noticed when there's a seeking of, things that are different, as people get older, they tend to be sorry. I had not only two parents that were not sorry, but an entire family system that knew of the abuse and were not sorry and tried to blame me as the child. But I have found absolutely ways to grow myself emotionally and empathetically.
How did you do that?
Where I cannot judge them, because in order to make those wrong decisions, you have to be at a certain point of emotional maturity, and I believe they're stuck in different stages of denial about it, and I'm okay with that. I am no longer mad at any human. I have no room for hatred.
Just for a second, can you help us understand? So these were family member.
Yes. I believe I can speak on it because I'm not going to mention the name directly. My number one abuser was my biological mother. And my father, in his absence, was an enabler for her. And then as far as the sexual abuse, that came from a grandparent.
And I'm so sorry to hear about this. Was there anyone in your extended family that knew that you were being victimized, and how did they help you?
Unfortunately for me, and I do believe this happens more often than not, one of my diagnoses is Asd, so I kind of don't have the ability to lie. So I will very blank face look at someone and tell them what's happening to me. Unfortunately,
immediate
family members that were aware of my abuse
Julia.
Decided to put it under the rug and pretend as if it was not happening.
Julia, can you help the audience understand what ASD is?
Absolutely. I am diagnosed with Asperger syndrome, which is and I know the terminology has changed recently, but ASD is, it creates I guess you would consider it the light functional version of neurodivergency. My brain operates in a certain way. I do not experience emotion the same way others do. If you want to fill anything in, Susan, if you want to help them too, as far as definition, if I'm forgetting something.
No, that's okay. I mean, what year were you diagnosed with that, and what led to you being diagnosed? Like, how did you know to seek help to even have that diagnosis?
Well, it's the ASD diagnosis happened, I would say, 5 years ago.
Okay.
And to be honest, the diagnosis only happened after I began to ask questions. I was fortunate enough when I was 18 years old, I went to the College of Southern Idaho, where I was able to obtain a minor degree in psychology, which I didn't decide to pursue it as a career because it was too triggering for me.
Right.
But it began an absolute fascination. I own a DSM-5, which is the Diagnostic Statistics Manual, the most current one to diagnose different mental ailments. And, I have friends that are counselors, psychiatrists, psychologists. So I speak the language. I chose not to pursue a career in it because I have a lot of healing to do myself, even to this day. But I was curious. I started asking questions because I've been going to counselors, doctors, therapists off and on ever since I was 15.
Since you were 15, Julia, you've been like, say, going to therapy, counselors, and seeking all of this help. In what ways did you feel that was helpful? And what advice can you give to these listeners that might be enduring or have gone through, or maybe know someone who has gone through similar experiences?
I would definitely say, if there's nothing else that you take from anything I say, when it comes to healing, do not give up. And sometimes that will look like counseling. You will find the right counselor, you will click, you will have trust, and they will help you on your path. Sometimes with some counselors, it won't click. Sometimes you won't be ready for counseling because you need to be in the state of mind to be able to accept a new truth. But the number one thing I want anyone of any age listening to this podcast to understand is that you absolutely cannot give up. Your mental health is tantamount, which means more important than anything else that you can do, because your productivity can come and go in this life. Everything else can come and go in this life. If your mental health is not your number one priority to take care of and to seek answers, no matter what that means, then you will waste years of your life accidentally repeating patterns and mistakes and hurting yourself when you can be free of your pain.
That is so perfectly put. Seriously, because so many people think that how they're feeling is like you said previously, it was just accepted, and
absolutely,
sometimes when people have depression or anxiety or whatever it might be, it's almost shamed upon.
Absolutely, and that's that old school level of thinking. I'm so happy. I have two daughters. One is 14 and the other is 10, and they are growing up in a much different world that is so much more accepting of not only neurodivergency, but of listening to abuse victims and getting help with your mental state. And I am so excited about that.
How did you have the strength and the wherewithal to seek help? Because not everyone has that strength base that you do.
To be honest, this is where, and also my life motto is no judgment. I mean, I've had people tell me terrible things, from veterans to, adult survivors of, sexual abuse. I mean, like, some of my best friends have been through crazy stuff. What I would tell people is this: do not think that you are weak because you haven't said anything. I got lucky. I genetically, I come from, I come from two people that were college athletes. I come from privilege. I am of a certain skin color that provides me with privilege. It's not necessarily about my strength. It's about just not giving up. Do you see what I mean? Because it's just, I wanted to be happy. My whole life, from beginning to end, beginning to now, I've just always really wanted to be happy. And I think everyone deep down feels that way, and they just don't know how to go about it. I think having ASD, among some other diagnoses, has given me the superpower of being blunt and not experiencing fear the same way as other people. But there are so many people out there that are strong, and they just don't know it. And it's not that they give up, they just don't know where to start. And if anyone's listening to this podcast, you can absolutely do it. You can succeed at anything you want, even something that you find impossible. Let's say you're living at home, you're 15 years old, mom and dad are beating the crap out of you. They tell you you're trash, you're not happy. Maybe you've turned to drugs, or maybe you've turned to violence or gang, anything like that. I just want you to know that today you have the power to start making small changes or to carve out a path of success for yourself. You can make it out of hell.
Julia, can I ask you, you said the definition of happy. How do you define happiness? What
happiness?
I know it's different for everyone, but I mean, seeing that, looking at everything that you've overcome, how do you define happiness? I look at it as, perseverance or being content, or, what I see as happiness might be different from your happiness, or what might be different from someone else's happiness.
Oh, absolutely. Everyone's got their own language, and happiness is one of those very versatile words. My definition of happiness was peace.
Wow,
I grew
nice.
up in constant violence and criticism. And
what were you being criticized of?
So I wanted peace.
What were you being criticized of? What?
Part of my abuse when I was a child, just a little tidbit here and there. My mother was very polarized. So when she interacted with me, she was yelling at me, she was hitting me, she was being very, very extreme. And then when she would ignore me, it was severe neglect. And she would lock me in my room for sometimes weekends at a time without feeding me or allowing me to leave that room. Hold
on. So you're talking about, this was when you were a youth?
Yes.
Okay, so you're being locked in a room for 2 weeks. The school didn't wonder where you were?
Oh, no. 2 days. We're talking like the weekend, so that she could work around school and not become too suspicious. She was aware of her social surroundings.
Okay. And so during that time, you were,
she was very good at masking.
So during your lockdown time, let's just call it, weren't people curious as to like what was going on? Like if family or friends came over, like, geez, where's Julia? What is she doing? I mean, there was no like suspicion of what was going on, and did she have any accountability? How did that work?
Well, I didn't, until I moved to Idaho at the age of 12, I did not speak much, just out of fear, out of absolute fear and paranoia.
That's understandable.
So I was not a very social person. The person you're talking to today is completely polar opposite of who I was as a child. I was an only child. My father was gone most of the time. So besides school, I was essentially left to my own devices. I remember having literally 1 or 2 childhood friends. And even when I did that, that was so heavily controlled by my mother. So when I was locked in my room for 2 days at a time, there was no one to come around. No one would ask about me. No one really knew about me, and I was quiet. So that's the only way in retrospective I can think of her essentially getting away with that.
I get it.
She, unfortunately, my mother had some form of mental condition, which still remains undiagnosed as she is gone. She seemed to derive pleasure from harming me.
I'm so sorry you experienced this. But you feel like you have forgiven her and feel at peace with that?
Yes, and I'm not going to lie. I believe there will always be a very small piece of me that hurts from it.
Of course.
But I also believe that the anger I used to feel at a much younger age is reactionary. Now I understand that this is a woman probably who should not have had children. She was allowed to, and then she was not given help for her mental situation, so it just became worse when she had a child.
So because she didn't have help for, as you said, her situation, it became your situation.
Absolutely, and that's what you risk when you have children, when you have mental issues that are unaddressed or shoved under the rug.
I have one question. I'm not sure where we might go with this, but
sure.
Your best friend, Caitlin Draper, had brought up to me in a conversation as she was describing what a wonderful person you are and a lifelong friend, and she could not have said more about you. She had mentioned something about the Caribbean.
About what? Sorry.
The Caribbean?
Oh, this, about country?
Yes.
Oh, that's, that might have to be a story for another day, because I feel like I'm skipping around. But, yes, unfortunately, pause and then fast forward. As an adult, unfortunately, at the beginning of the COVID international outbreak in, let's say it started getting really huge, March of 2020, I believe?
Yes.
I was booked for my first international gig, and it wasn't anything huge. It wasn't, where it was booked in Nassau, Bahamas, which is the capital of the Bahamas. I had been there before with my my good friend who is also 82, so she's the same age as your mother, and I had been there before, and I had kind of linked up at the beginning of my DJ career. And I was booked for a smaller international gig at a fun little lounge where I had made connections there. So it was legitimately my first international gig, and I was very, very proud of myself. When I got there, the COVID outburst and the fear of Americans traveling, because there was like a lot of, anti-vaccine stuff going on. There was a lot of upheaval due to the spread of COVID-19. For lack of a better terminology, I was confronted by a person in the customs in Nassau coming off of the plane, who essentially would not let me through, who was trying to charge me a fee, and I wanted a receipt, and I wanted a legitimate reason for the fee, and they would not give it to me. They were trying to collect from me on a bench that was outside of the office. It was very scandalous, and because I would not give this person what they wanted, they stuck me in a holding cell overnight and then flew me all the way back to Twin Falls, Idaho, because they refused to let me into the country, even though I had been there multiple times. And it was very inhumane treatment. That customs person, I had, my mother was calling customs. I had a friend, Rodney, who was a taxi driver in Nassau, who has been our family friend for years. He was trying to pay the fee and get me out or whatever. They refused to release me from customs and would not bring me water for a 24-hour period. And I knew at that point my survival instincts from my childhood, I was like, oh, you think you're getting to me, but you have no idea what kind of mother I've lived with. Right. So, I was stuck immediately back. I had to argue with them 2 to 3 times to even go to the bathroom. I was stuck in a holding cell in Nassau, Bahamas, where the normal temperature out there is 95 degrees. I was stuck in a holding cell that was 55 degrees, freezing on a metal bench. There was a urine stain mattress on the floor.
Why was this?
Sorry, what?
And how did this all start?
I walked through, I was going through customs, going into the country, and I was asked why I was there, and I said, well, I'm on vacation, and I might be DJing. And that girl I told that to went to her boss, and they insisted that I have I guess there's a licensure that sometimes you have to pay to conduct business in a country, which it was a $200 fee, and I thought that was fine. However, the female trying to collect from me insisted that I give cash and refused to give me a receipt. And she was trying to collect from me on the back of a bench. And I said, I need this receipt for my business expenses. And it was refused. And the way I was being treated was kind of off. Her voice was a certain way. Come to find out, after I was sent all the way back to Twin Falls, the Bahamian government had shut down like a few days before. So this person in charge was operating without any form of boss above her.
Oh my God.
So in retrospective, and I wrote this really long post, it's available on my DJ Jules official Facebook page, but I had to fill in everyone who was so excited, because I'm so blessed. I have a huge support team, and I have a decent online following, and they were all excited about my first international gig, and they were rooting for me. And then I had to tell them, hey, I haven't been able to shower in almost 6 days.
Oh my God.
Hey, I haven't been able to take my contacts out of my eyes. I haven't been able to do this. This is what happened. And I believe the reason was that person decided to abuse their power, and I was treated the way I was because they were operating without authority above them, because there was no one for me to complain to. And I had called the Bahamian government, sent on my way back. They had given me plane tickets all the way back to Twin Falls. So essentially the flights were the Bahamas to Atlanta, Atlanta to Salt Lake, and then from Salt Lake you can take a little hopper plane for 30 minutes and arrive right back here in Twin Falls. And they had not told me that they had booked me flights all the way back. I thought I only had flights to Atlanta, so I had no idea where my stuff was. I was crying on the phone to my bestie / adopted mom about my situation. She said, I have all the money in the world. What do you need? And I said, I don't even know what to do. I don't know where my stuff is. I've been treated inhumanely. I was just traumatized. And then I ended up missing a flight.
It's incredible how such a turn of events happened in such a severe way.
Well, it was just because I demanded, and I didn't demand. I wasn't rude to these people at all. I was just requesting a receipt for this quote-unquote business expense because I was going to DJ in the Bahamas.
Can I ask you my next question?
Sure.
How long have you been a DJ? And I'm not minimizing at all anything of what you've been talking about, but you're talking about DJing, so I want the listeners to know, how did you become a DJ from all of your past experiences?
Well, I've been a DJ for going on 5 years. And essentially I've worked in and around the restaurant industry ever since the age of 2021. I love loud music. I love music. I love camaraderie in nightclubs. I'm not really there for the whole, bad portion of the scene. Never really have been. I mean, when I was younger, I would imbibe in a drink or two up until recently. Right. But I love the loud music, and I love the fact that when people are out at a nightclub and they've had a cocktail or two, they're able to open up emotionally. And I find that I am able to provide some of my best support to people when they have that little bit of vulnerability. You get the mom that's 30 years old working her tail off with kids. She finally gets a mom's night. Get her a couple of cocktails, and she will sit down and she will tell you what she's dealing with. And then you can provide that proper amount of support to her.
Do you feel
the person that's there that's like, hey, I did my writer and I got out of jail and I've been struggling, but now I'm doing better and I'm celebrating this, I'm celebrating that. And I'm just there to be like, hey, you know what? That's great. Because I come from struggle too.
Do you feel like the loud music is a form of escapism?
To be honest, I feel like the loud music can be used in multiple ways. But I believe, for me, it's therapy.
Right.
It's therapy because it helps with expression, and that is why I became a DJ. If you are having let's say you're having a rough week. I mean, even you, Dr. Feneck, if you're having a rough week and you walk into a place and you're going to have, a martini, or let's say you're going to go there and have a water and you just want to take a break for a moment and you don't want to be dealing with what you've been dealing with all week. So yes, I guess that would be escapism. And then the DJ sees you come in and, let's say that you've met them before, you know them, and they play you just a great throwback song. that provides you with some nostalgia. I believe that is absolutely therapeutic.
I couldn't agree more. I mean, if you think of, we look back at the songs, that were played, 20 years ago, or, there's always that song that just takes you back and makes you feel happy and gives you that 7 minutes of forgetting about what's going on in your real world. I completely understand. Music is such a healer. I really love the arts. I love the arts. I've been in the arts pretty much my entire life, and I can't say enough.
How many times has it saved your life is the question, and because I don't know about you, I do what I do to save lives in my own way.
It really has,
Oh God, yes, that one song that got you through a breakup.
I'll tell you right now, seriously, the song "Magic" by Olivia Newton-John.
Beautiful voice. It's a great song.
I have listened to that song almost weekly since that song came out. And What a Feeling by Irina Cara, Take Your Passion and Make It Happen. Those two songs have changed my life forever, and I wish there would be one day that Olivia Newton-John and Irina Cara known actually the impact that they had on my life. Maybe absolutely, that can happen. You know what I mean?
Day,
you have to think about all of these artists. You think about the songs like Sammy Hagar, Dreams, Reach for the Golden Ring. Those songs have inspired me so much, and I give them a lot of credit to mold us into who we are, right?
Oh, absolutely. Well, and they can save us, and they don't cost a dime. You know what I mean? Like, we all can find access to the internet or Spotify or whatever we need. And I think music, especially, with the developments in technology over the past 20, 30 years, now it's spread worldwide, and we can hear that healing. We can utilize that tool to help save ourselves. And yes, I definitely pay homage to what you said earlier. There's definitely some escapism sometimes. And I believe in, what is art but healthy escapism? You know what I mean? Catharsis. Being able to express those emotions when you can't necessarily speak them. Or maybe you're feeling like no one is listening. Or, maybe you're just in an unfortunate situation. In that moment, the ability to have that catharsis or to listen to that song or to express yourself. Any kid going through anything, regardless, can sit down and draw, like you were mentioning in your podcast with Caitlin. And maybe they have this tremendous talent for it. Maybe they have a talent for singing. Maybe they have a talent for something, but there is something artistic within each one of us that can help heal us and the world around us. I totally believe that every day.
I couldn't agree more. When I was back in the day, when I was in forensics and I was working with these youth, and I can't even put into words the amount of pain that I experienced from these youth going through the system, and there were kids that could pick up just a random pencil, a random scrap sheet of paper, and draw something that looked like it was actual photography from a camera.
And that's incredible. To be honest, I love finding that about people, especially youth.
Yeah, and the arts, especially in these days where kids are just addicted to electronics, and they don't have that, building forts and going fishing, and, they don't have all of those nuts and bolts that we had when we were kids, If you ask a kid now, when's the last time you built a fort, or when's the last time you built a go-kart, or when's the last time you had a lemonade stand, or when's the last time, you did all these things, and when's the last time you played jailbreak, it's just not like that anymore. It's just not. It's just not.
And unfortunately, I think that also stems from, that's a whole other can of worms, probably for another podcast. But,
right.
Just thinking about how overstressed all the parents are and they don't have time for their kids. So what do? Easiest solution, stick them on a tablet, stick them here, stick them there, have them be entertained so they don't bother you because you're too busy. You're working 60 hours a week. And I think societally, America in general has a lot to learn from other countries, because when it comes to that, we have absolutely deprioritized play therapy, family time, music, being a dork, making mistakes, being emotionally present to where we're looking each other in the face and having difficult conversations.
No, I mean, seriously, I mean, I grew up with 16 aunts and uncles, and if we were not sitting down at dinner, that alone was a huge problem. You know what I mean?
Well, and you had to be there, and mom and dad asked you about your day. You know what I mean? I don't know about you, but I've implemented that
no,
within
seriously,
my own.
How was your day? What's this? They knew the teachers. They helped with the homework. You know, it was a full-on parenting, full-on 100% parenting, and I'm hugely blessed. I can't say enough. I had the most beautiful parents, the most beautiful aunts and uncles, the cousins. I mean, just all of the event. Well, I don't want to say events, but it's like every Sunday was. Every Sunday was. I was going to say event. Every Sunday was like an event with all the meatballs, the sauce, the aunts, the uncles, the cousins. That was just a random Sunday.
Italian too. Hey, nice.
Then you throw in the weddings, the funerals, the birthdays, the baptisms. I mean, there was something going on every weekend. You got 16 aunts and uncles and 10,000 cousins. I mean, and I'm just so every night before I go to bed and every night before I wake up, I'm thank you, God, for having this experience in my life to give me the strength to do what I'm doing right now.
Oh, and you are making such a difference. I mean, having a podcast, doing the work that you do. I mean, I know I have a lot more torn about you, but thank God for people like you. People like you save me. And they save people like me. I had a counselor that I still consider a friend from high school, and we're talking, I'm 34, so we're talking 15, 20 years ago-ish.
Right.
And my counselor that was present in high school was one of the only people that I feel saw me. And growing up, I was really lucky in the regard that I was essentially a straight A and B student. I was considered a very gifted kid. I was considered, this, that, and the other thing, which when you're going through that crazy stuff at home, it doesn't matter,
Yeah. Lucky you.
But I had a counselor that sounded just like you, that just saw me immediately and was like, hey, kid, you can do it. And just those words helped me get through some crazy things.
And it's amazing because those words, this is perfect. You had a guidance counselor who told you that you can get through anything. My guidance counselor told me I would never go to college. And, so
man, did you prove her wrong? Mm-hmm.
It was a him. And it was just like, no, because he was just like, it came time to take, I didn't even know what they were at the time. I guess they were called SATs. I didn't know. And I was like, geez, should I be taking like this test or I'm not, I didn't know what it was at the time because of course he never thought I was going to college, and he's like, should I be taking this test? And he's like, that like everyone's taking to go to college, because I knew everyone was, getting their pencils and staying in a separate room and taking the test. And he's like, no, Susan, you're not going to college.
Oh, wow. So maybe a little bit of inherent old school sexism.
And I was like, I went in the bathroom and cried for about a good 10 minutes, and I was like, you know what?
I'm going to do it anyway.
Yeah, I am. And the same with the swim coach. You're not going to make the team. The same with... I'm like, who hired these people? I'm like...
Oh, yeah. Well, and in retrospect, you could never imagine saying that to any young kid, especially with your experience. Right, that's ridiculous.
Who hired these people? I mean, it's like I look back and I'm like, this person put me down. This person, the swim coach, put me down. This one put me down. This one said I wasn't going to college. This one said I wasn't going to do this. This one said I wasn't going to do that.
And you're thinking, you know what? I'm forgiving you and moving on, but you guys all sucked.
Yeah. I'm like, who hired you guys? Who was on the hiring committee for these people? I'm like, I think about it, I'm like, who hired these people? Like, oh my God, but as much as that person who told you in high school that you could overcome everything, it inspired me every single day from that one. I don't even know if it was 15 minutes. It was 10 minutes. I just kind of walked in and said, hey, should I be taking this test? No, Susan, you're not going to college. Okay, bye. Bye. Get out of my office, you big loser. I'm like, oh yeah. I'm like, okay, I'm just going to go to the bathroom and cry. Oh my God.
Opposite happened. I had the polar opposite happen at school, because you got to think, when you look at abused kids, you have, the two extremes. You have the kid that is the one that is beaten down, that is obviously there's something going on, and, they present very, it's easy to point out, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I was the child in denial that everything was okay, so I presented as strong and outgoing and happy. And to be honest, I know we've mentioned it before, but my sweet, amazing, incredible friend Caitlin and I.
Hi, Caitlin. She's trying to listen right now. And
Hi, Caitlin. Love you. You're the best. We both presented as very confident, happy people, when in reality we were hiding absolute mental torture. And Caitlin's heard a lot of my stories over the years, and there's a reason she hooked us up, and it's because, I don't know how many podcasts you have to dedicate, but girl, I got some stories for you. And I'm just lucky and blessed every single day that I made it, to be honest with you. And I would say that to any of your listeners, that if I can make it, you can make it. There is a way. Seek solution, because you never know who's going through what. That's why I have my one rule, which is no judgment. We just hear people out, and if we can help, we help, and if we can't, we can't, and we learn what we can learn. And it's just very simple. I've almost made it like a spiritual belief, you know what I mean?
Julia, is there a way, because we're almost running out of time, but is there a way, if someone wants to reach you, I know we all don't want to give our personal cell phone numbers out, our mobile numbers out, if there's a way that one of our listeners would like to contact you for strength or hope or for help or for healing, is there a way that maybe they could send you an email or something? And I don't know, maybe a little way to give back?
Oh my gosh, absolutely. If you guys have heard anything that I've said and you vibed with any of it, feel free to contact me at djjulesofficial@gmail.com.
Can you spell that, please?
Yeah, absolutely. It's DJ JUL 3Z, the number 3 and the letter Z, official, OFFICIAL @gmail.com. And I am also available through all major platforms. On Facebook, you can look up DJ Jules Official. On Instagram, you can look up DJ Jules Official. I'm also on SoundCloud if you want to hear some of my music mixes too.
Oh, I would love
if you're pathetic and want to get out, of whatever's going on.
Oh, that's wonderful. No, because we're here. The whole point of the podcast is to help, to heal, to educate, to bring awareness to so many different things, and it's just been so successful. And I'm so blessed. And I had no idea, quite honestly, what I was getting myself into. And I think we've had probably about, maybe 35 guests so far, I think. And now we just got a notice.
Amazing.
And now that just over the past few months, and now we're getting notices from Google that we're, on the Google platform and Spotify and this one and that one and iHeart. And I just feel like, if you're doing something from your heart, you're speaking from your heart, you're doing something truthful from your heart, and you have such, a presence that is just to help people in a genuine way, then it's meant to spread as big as this podcast has, because the guests that have come on I know, because I get feedback. People, call me. I get people. The one podcast I had people calling me from New York going, "Oh my God, that was amazing. That really changed my life."
Oh, I love that. That's so incredible. And you think you're just making a difference in your corner, but here you are changing the world.
Just that one phone call led me to believe that, and this all happened, someone's like, "Hey, you should do a podcast." I'm like, "What's that?" I know what it was, but it's not that I didn't know what it was, but what's entailed, how do you do it, what do you do? And now I've got, Caitlin has 40 people lined up to come on the podcast, and it's just, and I couldn't be more thankful to have, thank the universe, and, thank my guardian angels, and thank everything for giving me the opportunity to have a platform where people feel safe and loved and supported. And the whole point of this is, like I said, there might be one person that listens to this where you save their life, you change their life, you inspire them. I mean, you're a strong person, you're a beautiful person, you have a bright light, you have a beautiful soul, and you've overcome so much, and you're using your pain as power.
Oh, absolutely. And to be honest, I'm just here to pass it on because I'm just so lucky I made it. I'm so lucky I was blessed and provided multiple opportunities. And if anybody needs help, I am totally on with your cause, Dr. Feneck. And I don't care what anyone tells anyone. We don't listen to negativity. You can have any human listening to this podcast right now can have anything they want and can switch around their life and can succeed and be truly happy. I truly believe that.
I love it. And I would love to do a part 2 of this.
Absolutely.
Because there's a certain amount of time we have that we have to upload onto the different platforms, and if it goes too long, it just reels and reels and reels, to be quite honest. And so, and I think it would be wonderful I have a lot of other guests that want to come back on and talk about, like, say, part 2 of their story, and based on the ratings and the thousands of listeners. Even when Caitlin was on, she had 2.5 listeners. I mean, it's just been incredible, and like I said, we're all speaking from the heart. We're all genuine. We have purity, and all we want to do is talk about our experiences and live, learn, and love, and educate and heal and help, and that's it. I mean, that's why we're here.
Absolutely.
So I'm going to say thank you so much for coming on. Our 888 number is just about to be live, probably within the next few days, come to find out. But if anyone wants to contact me, you could always go to juvenile, JUVENILE, justiceimpact@gmail.com. You can check out our website, www.impactjji.com, which is in construction right now because there's so much going on that I'm like trying to keep up with the website, and I'm like, hold on, we have to put these pictures. What about what we did last month? And there's so much so we're in the process of continually trying to figure out how we can update all of the websites for Dr. Feneck and for Juvenile Justice Impact, and but it's a good problem, right? And and so we have if you could just say your email one more time, just in case.
Absolutely. If anyone wants to reach out to me, it's djjulesofficial@gmail.com, spelled DJJUL3Z official@gmail.com. I would love to hear from you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much. We're out of time, Julia. Thank you so much for your time. And we started this podcast a little bit late because I was stuck in traffic, but at least I wasn't stuck in a snowstorm. And as we were joking about when we first came on. But anyway, thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much for feeling so comfortable to tell the world your experiences to hopefully help and heal. And I can't wait to have you back on again. It's been a pleasure and an honor to meet you, to know you. I just love Caitlin so much and have the utmost respect for her, and I'm very thankful for her to bring us together, and everything happens for a reason.
Thank you so much, Dr. Feneck. I love Caitlin. Caitlin, thank you. This is a shout out to you, baby. Thank you so much for introducing me to this wonderful doctor, and I look forward to part number 2 and maybe part number 200.
Yeah, right? No, seriously. I mean, because there's so many guests that have come on, and when it reaches almost that hour point, they're like, wait, I wanted to bring up like this and that, and oh my God, I forgot to talk about these 5 things, and I'm like, okay, well, I'm here, we're all here, you know what I mean? We're just literally a phone call away, because now we're getting calls from all over the country, and we're just a phone call away. I mean, if you wanted, you can come back on again tomorrow night, you know what I'm saying? I mean, but we'll look at our calendars, and we'll see what works best for all of us, but I just am very thankful and grateful, and I appreciate your time. I appreciate you, and I'm very proud of everything that you have overcome, and you're using your experiences to educate and to help other people, and I just think that's incredible. So thank you so much, and we're going to conclude this, and what we'll do is we're gonna be on Speaker, SPREAKER.com. Please subscribe. You can go to Juvenile Justice Impact. Please donate, and we can't wait to see you. So thank you so much. Thank you. And Julia, what I'm going to do is after we conclude this, I'm going to talk to you for just a few more minutes about a few other housekeeping things. And thank you so much.
Yeah, no problem.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.